Many people believe that big financial problems start with a low salary, an unexpected crisis, or a huge debt. But most of the time, that's not how it all begins. The beginning is almost always silent, discreet, almost invisible. It's like a small water leak inside a house. At first, you don't even notice. A drop here, another there. Nothing that seems scary, nothing that makes you rush to fix it. But time passes, and that leak that seemed harmless starts to soak the floor, ruin the wall, and cause far more damage than you imagined. With money, exactly the same thing happens. The problem for many people isn't just earning too little. It's letting money escape through several places at once without realizing the gravity of it. A coffee here, a quick purchase there, an unmissable deal, a forgotten subscription, a delivery out of tiredness, a little treat to relieve stress, a small installment that seems to fit the budget. Separately, everything seems innocent. Everything seems deserved. Everything seems too small to make a difference. But when these small outflows repeat themselves every day, every week, every month, the result shows up, and it shows up in a cruel way. At the end of the month, the person looks at their account and feels they worked hard, made an effort, woke up early, faced pressure, solved problems, but the money simply vanished. And the feeling is always the same. I didn't even buy anything that big, so why is there never anything left? That is the question that paralyzes the financial lives of millions of people. Because in their minds, wealth is only destroyed by big mistakes. But the truth is that many times it is blocked by small repeated habits. That's where the danger lies. A large expense is frightening. It draws attention. It forces the person to stop and think. Small expenses, on the other hand, go unnoticed. They enter the routine dressed as normality. They seem like part of life. They seem like a reward. They seem like comfort. And precisely because they seem normal, they meet no resistance. Nobody feels guilty about a small purchase. Nobody believes a silly expense has the power to ruin an entire future, but it does, very much so. Imagine a bucket being filled with clean water, drop by drop. That bucket represents your wealth building. Every amount saved, every investment made, every conscious choice, every intelligent sacrifice slowly fills that bucket. Now imagine that at the bottom of it there are several tiny holes. Small, almost imperceptible. You keep pouring water in, but it keeps escaping. That is what unnecessary expenses do to your financial life. They sabotage your effort, they cancel out your discipline, they delay your results. And after a long time, the person concludes, wrongly, that saving money doesn't work, that investing is pointless, that getting rich is impossible. But the problem wasn't a lack of ability, it was the leak. What's most curious is that almost nobody teaches this clearly. Many people grow up hearing that to succeed financially, all you need to do is work hard. So the person works a lot, but nobody shows them that earning money is only half the journey. The other half, which may actually be even more important, is preventing that money from escaping through habits that build nothing. Because it's no use having water poured in from the top if it's draining out from the bottom the whole time. And here is a truth that can completely change the way you see money. Wealth doesn't begin when you start earning a lot. Wealth begins when you stop wasting what you already earn. That is the turning point that separates those who are always chasing bills from those who, little by little, begin to build peace of mind. It's not about living poorly. It's not about denying yourself everything. It's not about suffering. It's about realizing that every small expense carries a hidden question. Is this bringing me closer to freedom, or just giving me a quick pleasure that disappears in minutes? When a person doesn't ask that question, they live on autopilot. And autopilot almost always costs a lot. That's why so many people seem stuck in the same place for years. They even try to improve their lives. They want to grow, they want peace, they want to get out of the tight spot. But they keep feeding, without realizing it, small decisions that drain the energy out of their money. And money without direction is like water on cracked ground. It disappears before producing any fruit. Throughout this story, what will become increasingly clear is that getting rich doesn't depend only on making big wins. Many times, it depends first on stopping the repetition of small mistakes. Because when you close the leaks, money starts to obey. It starts to grow. It starts to stay. And for the first time, the future stops feeling so distant. The first useless expense is, at the same time, the most common and the most dangerous of all: excess spending in general. And what's most frightening is that it almost never appears dramatically. It doesn't arrive shouting. It doesn't knock on the door warning you that it's destroying your financial life. It enters in silence, spreads through the routine, and starts to seem normal. That is the reason so many people live tired, work so hard, and yet never see their money grow. Because there is a simple, harsh, and impossible to ignore rule: those who spend more than they earn will never get rich. They can earn 1,000, they can earn 5,000, they can earn 20,000. If their standard of living always rises along with their income, the final result remains the same. Money comes in through one door and goes out through another. And the person lives with the feeling of always running, always paying, always solving problems, always squeezed. Sometimes they even get a raise, but peace doesn't come with it. This happens because the problem isn't only in the amount coming in, it lies mainly in the behavior of whoever is managing it. Many people think financial loss of control belongs to those who are always buying expensive things, but it doesn't. Excess spending also shows up in small decisions, repeated without awareness. It's the habit of not looking at prices. It's the tendency to buy without comparing. It's the custom of saying, "I'll deal with that later." It's the ease of swiping the card for anything small. It's the dangerous thought that because the amount is low, it doesn't deserve attention. But it does, very much so. Excess spending is born when a person loses respect for their own money. They work hours of their life to receive that amount, but spend it as if it arrived effortlessly. And that is one of the greatest mistakes in financial life. Every bill, every transfer, every payment represents time, energy, focus, patience, emotional wear, commuting, pressure, and responsibility. Money isn't just money. Money is life converted into value. When you waste it without thinking, you're not just throwing away currency, you're throwing away part of your existence in time. And why do so many people fall into this? Because spending gives a feeling of relief. It gives a sense of movement. It creates the impression of reward. After a heavy week, a person feels they deserve to buy something. After a stressful day, they feel they deserve to order something. After receiving their salary, they feel like breathing a little. All of this seems understandable, and in many moments it truly is. The problem isn't an isolated expense. The problem is turning it into a lifestyle. When spending becomes an emotional response to tiredness, anxiety, frustration, or emptiness, money stops being a tool and becomes an anesthetic. And financial anesthesia is expensive. Some people open their banking app and avoid looking at their statement. Some know they overspend, but prefer not to add it up so as not to get scared. Some split a purchase into installments to avoid feeling the true weight of the decision. And some repeat a very common phrase to themselves: "I work so hard, I deserve it." Yes, you deserve to live well. You deserve comfort. You deserve dignity. But you need to understand one fundamental thing: deserving without discipline becomes a trap. Because the market loves to sell the idea that living well means spending more. But living well, truly, is not that. Living well is sleeping without fear of the bill. It's not trembling when the car breaks down. It's not depending on the credit card limit to make it to the end of the month. It's having a choice. It's having a margin. It's having breathing room. It's having money saved. It's not having to fake calm when, deep inside, the account hasn't balanced for a long time. This is the great shift in thinking. Wealth doesn't go hand in hand with excess. Wealth goes hand in hand with control. Those who build assets learn sooner or later to live below their own means. And that doesn't mean living sadly trapped or with a scarcity mindset. It means living intelligently. It means not spending everything that comes in just because it came in. It means leaving room for the future. It means understanding that not all money that arrives was meant to be consumed in the same month. Living below your means is a mature decision. It's when a person looks at their own income and says, "I'm not going to organize my life around the maximum I can spend. I'm going to organize it around the maximum I can preserve." That shift seems small, but it changes everything, because those who live at the limit are always at risk. Any unexpected event becomes a crisis. Any delay becomes despair. Any emergency becomes debt. But those who create breathing room start to breathe easier. And those who breathe easier think better. And those who think better decide better. That's why tracking every expense isn't paranoia, it's clarity. Many people avoid writing down their expenses because they think it's something only people in financial trouble do. But the truth is the opposite. Whoever wants to prosper needs to know where their money is going. Because money that goes untracked grows legs. It disappears without asking permission. And what's most curious is that when the person finally writes everything down, they're almost always shocked. They discover that it wasn't one big financial tragedy. It was a bunch of small outflows forming a silent whole. And that shock, though uncomfortable, can be liberating. Because from the moment you see things clearly, you take back power. You stop living in a haze. You stop feeling like the money disappears. It doesn't disappear. It's going to places you may have never stopped to observe honestly. And when you observe, you can correct. When you correct, there's money left over. When there's money left over, you build. And when you build, your life truly begins to change. Financial discipline isn't punishment, it's protection. It's what keeps you from trading future peace of mind for a few minutes of pleasure. It's what teaches you that not every desire deserves to become a purchase. It's what transforms a salary into a foundation, not smoke. And above all, it's what shows you that wealth isn't born from a stroke of luck, but from the sum of conscious choices made repeatedly, even when no one is watching. In the end, excess spending doesn't only destroy the wallet. It destroys opportunities. It destroys the chance to invest. It destroys the chance to get out of debt. It destroys the chance to build a reserve. It destroys the chance to live more lightly. And worst of all, it does all of this gradually, in such a silent way that many people only realize it when they're already exhausted. But the good news is that this problem can be faced, and it starts to be overcome the moment you decide to stop treating money as a visitor and start treating it as something that should remain, grow, and work in your favor. Because whoever learns to control excess spending isn't just saving. They're building the foundation of a firmer, freer, and far richer life. The second useless expense is impulse buying. And unlike what many people imagine, it doesn't come from necessity. It comes from urgency, from emotion, from the desire to feel something good at that exact moment. That's why this kind of spending is so dangerous, because it almost never happens when the person is calm, rational, and looking toward the future. It happens when the mind wants a quick reward and the wallet ends up paying the price. Impulse buying is, in many cases, an attempt to resolve in minutes an emptiness that has nothing to do with the product. The person isn't just buying an object. They're buying the feeling of novelty. They're buying relief after a difficult day. They're buying the impression that they're giving themselves a gift. They're buying the idea that they deserve it. And for a few moments, all of this seems to work. The heart lifts, The mind gets distracted, expectations rise. But then comes the part that almost nobody talks about. The excitement passes, the object loses its appeal, and the bill is still there. That is the silent cycle of impulse. Strong desire, quick purchase, short pleasure, long regret. And the problem isn't only in the value of the purchase, it's in the habit it builds. Because when a person gets used to buying every time they feel like it, they teach themselves that any emotion can be solved through consumption. Feeling sad, buy. Feeling anxious, buy. Worked hard, buy. Had a bad day, buy. Saw someone with something better, buy. Got paid, buy. And so, without noticing, money stops following a plan and starts obeying the mood of the moment. That is exactly where financial freedom begins to weaken. Because freedom isn't being able to buy anything whenever you feel like it. Freedom is having enough control not to become a slave to your own desires. And that requires maturity. It requires a pause. It requires the ability to endure a few minutes of desire without turning it into an expense. It sounds simple, but it isn't. Especially in a world that pushes offers all the time, creates a sense of urgency, and makes a person believe they're missing out if they don't buy right now. Last units. Today only. Exclusive discount. Flash sale. You deserve it. Buy now, pay later. All of this is designed to weaken your composure. The market knows that a thoughtful person buys less. An emotional person buys more. That's why so much advertising is made to speed up the decision. They don't want you to reflect. They want you to react. They want to turn desire into action before reason has time to enter the conversation. And if you don't notice this game, you'll end up confusing impulse with necessity. How many times has someone bought something unplanned and then tried to justify it by saying, it wasn't even that expensive? How many times do they grab an extra item because it was on sale, even without needing it? How many times do they go in to browse and leave with bags? How many times do they see something online, imagine how great it would be to have it, and before even thinking it through, they're already typing in the password? This type of behavior seems small when it happens once. The problem is when it becomes a pattern. Because impulse buying doesn't just steal money, it steals focus, it steals discipline, it steals the ability to prioritize, and most importantly, it steals the future. Money spent on impulse is money that stops fulfilling a more important purpose. It could strengthen your emergency fund. It could reduce a debt. It could go into an investment. It could ease a tight spot further down the road. It could help buy something truly relevant without suffering. But instead, it goes away to satisfy a desire that barely lasts a few minutes. And here is a hard but necessary truth. Many people delay their own financial peace because of desires they can barely remember a few weeks later. That's why the suggestion of waiting 48 hours before buying something unplanned is so powerful, because it breaks the spell of impulse. It gives reason back its space. When you don't buy right away, something important happens. The emotion cools down. And when the emotion cools down, the truth appears. Many times, after 2 days, the person realizes they didn't need it. They realize the desire was fleeting. They realize the purchase only made sense in the heat of the moment. Those 48 hours act as a filter between desire and decision. If after that time, the item still seems useful, necessary, and compatible with your budget, the purchase can be analyzed with much more maturity. But if the desire disappears, you just avoided a waste. And you didn't just avoid one purchase. You avoided reinforcing a habit that could have kept draining your financial life for years. This matters greatly because impulse almost always disguises itself as deserving. The person tells themselves, I work so hard. I barely spend on anything and it's just this once. I can pay in installments. I needed a little happiness. And perhaps all of that even seems convincing in that moment. But the question that truly matters is a different one. Is this purchase serving my life or just my impulse? That question changes everything, because it takes the decision out of the realm of emotion and brings it into the realm of awareness. And those who begin to live with financial awareness discover something liberating. Resisting an unnecessary purchase isn't losing pleasure. It's gaining power. It's proving to yourself that money doesn't control you and that the desire of the moment doesn't rule your destiny. Many people associate self-control with deprivation, when in reality it is a form of self-respect. Respect for your effort, respect for your goals, respect for the life you want to build, because it makes no sense to work so hard, face so much pressure, and then hand the fruits of that over to decisions made in seconds. Each impulsive purchase is small on its own, but together they create a pattern of financial escape that's hard to notice. One object here, another there, a deal today, a little treat tomorrow, a click now, an installment later. Before the person knows it, they're surrounded by things that didn't change their life and emptied of the money that could have truly transformed it. That's why controlling impulse isn't just a financial tip. It's a shift in posture toward life. It's choosing to stop living on autopilot. It's moving away from the logic of immediate satisfaction and into the logic of conscious building. It's understanding that future freedom is worth more than momentary excitement. And it's precisely this trade, made repeatedly, that begins to separate those who merely consume from those who truly build wealth. In the end, the great truth is simple. Getting rich doesn't depend only on how much money enters your account, but on how much money you're able to protect, direct, and turn into assets. Many people spend their entire lives believing the problem is only the salary, when in reality the greatest battle takes place in the small daily choices. It's there, in the detail, in the repeated habit, in the expense that seems too small to matter, that the financial future begins to be built or destroyed. Throughout this journey, it became clear that money doesn't vanish by magic. It goes away in excesses, in impulses, in debts that bring no return, in choices made to impress others, in quick pleasures that cost a great deal in the long run. And what's most dangerous is that almost all of it seems normal. It seems deserved. It seems part of the routine. But when these behaviors accumulate, they create a lifetime of effort without progress. The person works, runs, wears themselves out, but keeps feeling like they never move forward. That's why real financial change begins when you decide to look at your own money with more honesty, not to blame yourself, not to live in fear, but to take control, because discipline isn't suffering. Discipline is direction. It's what keeps your effort from being wasted. It's what turns a salary into a foundation. It's what creates space to invest, breathe, plan, and live with more peace. True wealth isn't born from the desire to appear prosperous. It's born from the courage to make intelligent choices, even when no one is watching. It's born when you stop spending to numb emotions and start using money to build security. It's born when you understand that freedom is worth more than appearances, that assets are worth more than impulse, and that financial peace is worth more than any momentary pleasure. If you learn to close these silent leaks, your life will begin to change. Perhaps not overnight, perhaps not with a miracle, but with consistency, with clarity, and with better decisions. And that's how true transformation happens, not in one great leap, but in many conscious steps, repeated firmly, until money stops escaping and finally begins to work in your favor. Now I want to ask you a question. Which of these expenses gets in the way of your life the most today? Tell me in the comments, because I want to know which one weighs most on your wallet without you even realizing it. And if this content helped open your eyes, like this video and subscribe to the channel, because here you'll find more content to help you learn to protect your money, think with intelligence, and build a much stronger financial life.